Hey Moz fans, welcome to another edition of Whiteboard Friday. Today we're talking about all things featured snippets. So what are they? What sort of research have we discovered about them recently? And what can you take back to the office to target them and effectively basically steal them, right, in search results? So to be clear, what is a featured snippet? If you were to do a search for "Are Crocs edible?", you would see a featured snippet like this. And essentially, it's giving you information about your search and citing a website. And this isn't to be confused with an answer box, where it's just an answer and there's no citation. So if you were to search how many days are in February, Google will probably just tell you, 28, and there's no citation, right? So that's an answer box as opposed to a featured snippet. Now, what have we recently discovered about featured snippets? Well, we know that they're on 23% of all search result pages. That's wild, right? This is up over 165% since 2016. So we know that they're growing. We know that Google continues to provide more and more in different spaces. And we also know that there's 5 general types of featured snippets. The most common that we see is the paragraph and the list. And the list can come in numerical format or bullets. But we also see tables and then video. And the video is interesting because it'll just show a specific section of a video that it thinks you need to consume in order to get your answer, which is always interesting. And lately we have started noticing accordions. And we're not sure if they're testing this or if it might be rolled out, but they're a lot like People Also Ask boxes in that they expand and almost show you additional featured snippets, which is fascinating. Another important thing to take away is that, so we know paragraph and lists are the most common, and we can see that here. 50% of all featured snippet results are paragraphs. 37% are lists. It's a ton. And then it kind of whittles down from there. 9% are tables, and then just under 2% are video, and under 2% are accordion. Kind of good to know, right? Interestingly, half of all featured snippets are part of a carousel. And what we mean by a carousel is when you see these sort of circular options within a featured snippet at the bottom. So if you were to search for, I think this was comfortable shoes, you have options for women is a circular carousel button, for work, stylish, and what happens when you click these is it recalibrates that featured snippet and changes it into what you clicked. And so it starts to get very, very niche. So you might have started with this very general search, and Google is basically begging you to refine what it is that you're looking for. It's very, very interesting and something to keep in mind. We also know that People Also Ask boxes are on 93.8% of featured snippet SERPs, meaning they're almost always present when there's a featured snippet, which is fascinating. And I think there's a lot of good data we can get from these People Also Ask questions to kind of seed your keyword research and better understand what it is people are looking for. Are Crocs supposed to be worn with socks? It's a very important question, right? You have to understand this stuff. Informational sites are winning, right? We see that the sites that are providing finance information and educational information doing extremely well in the featured snippet space. So again, something to sort of keep in mind. Be a detective and test. You should always be exploring these snippets that you might want to rank for. Where is it grabbing from the page? What sort of markup is it? Start sort of being a detective and looking at all those things. So now to kind of the good stuff, where what is it that you can specifically do to potentially win a featured snippet? And so these are sort of the 4 boiled down steps I've come up with to help you with that. So number 1 is to know which featured snippet keywords your site already ranks for. And it's really easy to do in Keyword Explorer at Moz. So if you search by root domain, you just put in your website into Moz Keyword Explorer, it will show you all of the ranking keywords for that specific domain. And from there, you can filter by ranking or by range from 1 to 10. So what are those keywords that you currently rank 1 to 10 on, right? And then you add those keywords to a list, and once they populate in your list, you can filter by a featured snippet. And this is sort of the good stuff. This is your playground. This is where your opportunities are. And it gets really fun from here. So number 2 is to know your searcher's intent. So if one of your keywords was Halloween costume DIY, and the search result page was all video and images and content that was very visual, you have to provide visual content to compete with an intent like that, right? There's obviously an intent behind the search where people want to see what it is and help in that process, right? So it's a big part of crafting content to rank in search results, but also featured snippets. Know the intent. Number 3, provide succinct answers and content. Omit needless words. We see Google providing short, concise information, especially for voice results. We know that that's sort of the way to go, so highly suggest doing that. Number 4, monitor those featured snippet targets. Whether you're actively trying to target them or you currently have them, Stat provides really, really great alerts. So you can actually get an email notification if you lose or win a featured snippet. And it's one of the easiest ways I've discovered to keep track of all of these things. And a pro tip is to add a too long didn't read summary to your most popular pages, right? You already know the content that most people come to your site for, or maybe, you know, the content that does the best in your conversions, whatever that might be. If you can provide summarized content about that page, just key takeaways or whatever that might be at the top or the bottom, you could potentially rank for all sorts of featured snippets. So really, really cool, easy stuff to kind of play around with and test. And lastly, for more tips and tricks, you should totally sign up for the featured snippet webinar that we're doing. I'm hosting it in a couple weeks, and I know spots are limited, but we'll be sharing all of the research that we've discovered and even more takeaways and tricks. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and I appreciate you watching this Whiteboard Friday. Keep me posted on any of your featured snippet battles or what you're trying to get or any struggles down below in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.